Oh, welcome to Backyard Road Trips. I'm the imbecile producer here, Jim Wheeler.
I'm Zach Lamont, or Zach.
Yeah, you can go. Yeah. Why are we going with my last names? Because you know why, Zach? Tell the world why.
Because we've been rehearsing for our promo for Red and White at Silver for the last hour.
It hasn't gone well.
No.
And who do we have here as a guest?
We're here with Ian Cheney, best friend extraordinaire, tall guy.
Oh, stop it.
Soda drinker.
Renowned soda drinker. Loves his Pepsi.
Yep.
Hates Coke.
I don't like that I'm known as being a soda drinker.
It's too late,
That's
man.
the third thing that came to mind after height and being a best friend is renowned soda drinker.
So why are you here, Ian?
Well, first of all, do you mean existentially? I'm not a man of faith.
So
we can get into procreation and my parents, but okay.
That's fine.
I am here, first of all, because you invited me, but second of all, because the three of us have been working on a special project over the last couple of years, another podcast. So the two of you are very experienced in the podcast world, which is why I was so grateful to work with you on this podcast about the NFA class of 2001, of which we're all a part, and what members of that class have been doing for the last quarter century with our 25-year reunion coming up.
So Red and White at Silver. So the new podcast, promoting it here, will be dropping in a couple weeks.
Oh, don't say it like that.
Oh, sorry.
It's
in the
coming.
fall, next season.
It's
so
coming
it's coming after Labor Day.
Our first episode will be the day after Labor Day.
Yeah.
That's where we have interviewed over 40 of our fellow classmates. That's a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. Ian, how many did we graduate with?
Well, we graduated with 504, and I wrote each of those names down into a spreadsheet at the beginning of this project so that we could try to reach out to many of them, including a large swath of our fellow graduates, many of whom we hadn't talked to since our days at NFA. And we interviewed ultimately about 40. We want to drop one a week for the entire school year because it lines up with the 25th anniversary of our senior year. So our senior year was 2000, 2001. And so from 2025 to 2026, September to June, we'll be dropping weekly episodes.
Ian, where did you come up with the idea of even doing this in the first place?
I don't know. It was spontaneous. I will say the inspiration was wanting to do a podcast project of some kind because I had just been on the Backyard Road Trips for my first appearance. We were at the history?
The Historical Society Center.
Historical Society Center, and you were interviewing me about my book, which was a history book, so it was a nice setting for it, and I really just had an amazing time with the two of you. You make every guest feel so welcome, and you're so kind and gregarious. I'm like, I had a great time. The time flew by. I want to keep doing something like that with the two of you, but what could it even be about? And somehow from there, I jumped to, well, our 25th reunion's coming up, and it'll probably take a long time to do this. So I think our first conversation about it was in early 2023, I want to say.
Oh, yeah.
And for some reason, you two agreed to do this arduous 2-year project, and here we are.
So I'm going to jump into another question here. And I don't know, Jim, you've played music most of your,
Sure.
most of your life.
An incredible musician.
Yeah. And you've written a book. And I'm not gonna take our web writing because with your website and mine, you write it and you post it and it's there. But there's something different about working on something, and you could also, I can relate to this with Jim, with your woodworking or whatever you're doing, that you're working on something for so long, or even gardening, that it's like you're not seeing the fruit of it for much later. So here I've been working on this project for 2 years.
It's the process.
And I'm very curious to see what your personal connection will feel to it once it's been released. I just know myself that when I've written a few books, by the time that the book has been released, I'm already working on another project.
Yeah.
And I've actually read the book like, oh, I didn't know that. So I learned something. So it's just kind of like a weird disconnect to it. Do you think you guys will feel this way? Do you think this is because we've been doing it in stages and we're only going to be wrapping up a few weeks before the first one gets released? It'll be more fresh. Like, what do you have any opinions about that?
The legacy behind it, I can already feel a little regret. And it's sort of like, I'm going to liken this to like hiking a mountain. Is like, if you ask me right after I'm done hiking something really heavy, like, I'm glad it's over. Like, that's it. Because it was a lot of work and I'm just tired. And like, the only thing that's like sort of on my mind is like the pain of it. But if you ask me a week later, I'm going to be like, it was like the best time of my life. You know what I mean? And so this is a lot of work for me because it's just the production side of it. Like, I think literally hundreds of hours. And so I have to find ways to make it shorter, right? Like, 'cause like, that's like not sustainable. I think that when this is done and like the pain of how much work it is going to be gone. And I'm just going to like, I wish I really did a job on this. I really wanted to do this as like, because that's what we're going to have. We're going to be left with like this sort of legacy, this archival, you know, for the next 30 years, as you've mentioned, beyond our lives.
Yeah.
This is a reflection of the work and the time that we've put into it. And I think that I will have wanted as my own legacy this to be as good as I possibly could have made it. But I'm also stuck with the reality of like, I don't have hundreds of hours to give towards this.
Right.
I have evenings and lunch breaks.
You have a family and a job.
And a family and a job.
Yeah.
And I think it would be 8 weeks of full-time work. I think I was calculating it. And I'm not like, whatever, like I volunteered for this and I'm happy to be out, I'm doing it and all that. But I think that at the end, I'm just going to listen to it and hopefully be happy with how it still came out, but wishing that like, I wish I'd just done a better job, but I know that I could only do what I could do.
Yeah. Well, similarly, my first emotion will be relief that it's over. I mean, 2 years is a long time. It takes up a lot of headspace. Not the man hours that Jim puts in, but a lot of headspace time. It clogs up a lot of what I'm doing. And so that'll be relief. I do expect we'll have lots of cringy moments. You know, I look back at my writing from 5 years ago. I look back at the book and I would have written that differently. How did I miss that joke there? I should have said that. That I think is natural. The nitpicking that will go on over time afterwards. The wish that I wish I was able to do better back then. But in the moment, I think we gave this our best shot, and I am proud of what we've done.
Absolutely.
I am proud of the legacy it does leave behind. But in the moment, it is tough, and I'm looking forward to it being over.
How about you, Zach?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it will be something that I've come at a little bit of a different angle because I'm not putting in as many of the hours as the editing or even the planning, but it's more of the travel time and trying to arrange my schedule
Zach
to come
drives
down
2 hours
here.
just to come down for recordings.
Right. Yeah. And trying to be like, okay, if I come down here with this kid for this weekend, I can do this with them. It's kind of like setting everything up to make sure things are good in the home front has been kind of my biggest challenge. So that's something that will be kind of a little easier not to have to be managing. But at the same time, I've really enjoyed the whole process of it so much. So I think looking back it will not feel as distant as maybe writing a book because depending on the publisher, again, I'm not sure with yours, but like with mine, my first two, it was a year in the process where I had to, between submitting basically the final manuscript and the publication of the book. So a year's a long time, especially if you're still trying to create during that time and you're just not super connected to it. Where I feel like I will be more so. But those initial episodes, I'm sure looking back and listening, being like, oh my, there's some real room to grow there.
Yeah,
we had some of that. Right?
Yeah, we did. We were rough early, but we just today we made the decision to try to scatter those throughout the project.
Exactly.
And start with some episodes that are a little bit more refined.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's go into our game. So High-Low Buffalo, game that we play after our trip to Maine, talking about what's the best part about it, what's the worst part, not worst, but the low moment about it. And then finally, what was the Buffalo? So something that you found just something wacky or fun or just kind of an oddity out there. For me, the high was connecting and spending time with you guys and seeing what our classmates have been up to. It's the really neat stories that I think are out there that people will be pretty excited to listen to.
Similar high, certainly working with the two of you was great. And I'm honored by that for all the time both of you have given up. In addition, I was overwhelmed by the interest in it from our classmates. When we first had the idea and said, okay, let's proceed, I had to go reach out. Some Facebook stuff primarily. Could we even get 20 guests? Can we even get 30? I had to stop it. I had to stop communicating with people at about 50. And I put one invite out on Facebook, one question, who's interested? And then it was a flood. I didn't even press it with anyone else. I could have pressed it and gotten so many more guests if we had the time for such a thing. And so to see not only the level of interest of being on, but then almost every single guest was looking forward to hearing our other episodes about other people that we interviewed, because they also want to know how our classmates are doing 25 years later. I'm very gratified by that.
I think it's cool too, just hearing, even we met with NFA Foundation this morning, but hearing that people have come up to, by listening to this podcast, come up to them about the interest in the Red and White at Silver that has not even been released yet. So that's kind of...
Yeah, very neat.
When we're doing backyard road trips, once we're done recording and I send you the file, I have no more connection to it. Like, I don't listen to it. I hope it's good. And it's always cool when you say like, oh, we have like 100 listeners or something. I don't know how many, but you said that was a lot. Or that people come up to us at NFA and it's like, oh, this person listened to backyard road trips and so I think that for me, it's just, it's a personal project and I like doing it, and whatever happens to it after that is cool. But then that there is that sort of connection later on, that this is turned into something else, and that this is like, I don't know, promoting a brand or a thing. And then talking to the foundation today with them saying that like this has sparked something more on like the NFA communication side of wanting to grow their reach and have a different medium that they can like communicate with people to. They were talking about, they have how old is that person? 104, their oldest.
The oldest living NFA graduate is 104 years old.
And that there is a desire to like, get their stories recorded in like a digital fingerprint of that.
Quick, Jim, what year was this person born if they're 104?
Alexa, what year was 104 years ago? 1921, Ian.
Excellent. Zach, who was president in 1921? I thought you might just go for Alexa as well.
Wilson left presidency in
Wilson
21.
Leaves that year. Yep. Excellent.
And
so it's
Wilson
March 4th.
leaves.
He leaves. Who shows up?
And Harding.
He got it.
Wow.
The first trivia question of the day. Well done.
There you go. Thank you. So I think we talked about between the high-low Buffalo, kind of talked about all of our lows. I feel like as part of it, kind of the trudge.
Let's get the lows.
For me, it would be more of like the logistical travel end of things. Not even travel, but the logistics with the fam. And
yeah, I have to say the low. So Jim shared all the raw cuts with me. So every episode that we had done, so 40 episodes, I've listened to, with all the mistakes, some of which we had to cut. The cutting isn't the low. The low is listening to myself.
Oh, really?
And generally speaking, I'm fine with all the words that I'm using. But it's funny, you don't notice some words that you say wrong or too quickly.
Right.
So for me, I don't say going to. I say like gonna or goina.
You're from New York originally. That's why.
I can't even replicate it unless I'm saying it in conversation without thinking of it. And every time I hear myself say it, which is all the time, I want to slap myself in the face while I'm listening. And then out loud, I'll say going to try to fix that. I never knew I said it. I said it poorly. And I say would you, the J sound instead of would you, and in a conversation, I don't even notice. But when listening to myself say it, I'm like, what is that? And I'll out loud, I'll go, would you, to try to train myself to say it correctly. So the low was listening to how poorly I say some words.
I get that sometimes. I'll listen to the backyard road trips and I'll hear Jim just being A+. And
He's A+.
You guys are drinking at that point.
I'm like C+, B- at the most, especially when we have guests.
Jim is so good with guests.
He's so good with guests.
Yes.
It's because of the mouth kissing.
Even on Zoom.
The screen gets involved.
Zoom is tough. How about some inside baseball real quick?
Yeah.
We had some Zoom episodes, Ian.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about why those were so hard?
That could have qualified as a low.
Yeah.
Not because of the guests, right? The fact that a guest wanted to be a part of it when they don't live in the area was really great.
Yeah.
And we knew that if we only did in-person episodes, we would limit our guests to people who stayed local. And that is not a very diverse cast of characters. So we knew we wanted Zoomers. We were grateful that, how many, Jim, do you think we had in total? Was it 6 to 8?
6,
something like that. And I've never been good on Zoom. Very few people are, because the timing is all off. And I had to teach, at the height of the pandemic on Zoom. And it was terrible. And you got to unmute and mute, and you can't jump in with quips. And everything is just a little bit delayed. And I think some of the fun of what we do with our in-person guests was lost on Zoom. Not to say we didn't have great Zoom moments or great Zoom guests, but the energy wasn't the same as it was in person in the basement of the Levanto house.
All right. Agreed. Yeah, completely agree on that one.
Zoom's always hard. Zoom's hard for backyard road trips, and it's you lose that. What is it? Is it true that it's like 80% of communication is nonverbal? I don't know. If
I haven't heard that.
True. Really?
So you think in person you can have all these nonverbal cues?
There's all sorts of cues
that facilitate the conversation,
right? And it's hard to do on Zoom. If people are muted or got our cameras off or something, it's just like you miss all these moments and you can't eject. So tough.
Yeah.
What about your buffalo? I like the hat they gave us.
We got hats.
I am wearing an NFA alumni hat.
It's a nice hat.
I love.
So it's been kind of just neat to be on campus reflecting about our time, even though we don't go too deep into campus.
We're not allowed to.
So we're not allowed to.
Yeah, we don't have because of the security. Remember, she was saying that you got to have the.
Oh no, she was just saying if you're from off the street, you can go to there to ask a question.
This is our liaison, Megan Aikman, the liaison to the NFA Foundation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anything that was
it's eerie.
Yeah.
It's eerie. It's even a little dark to see mortality catch up with all of us.
Yeah.
So the last time I saw 90% of our guests was 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So to jump and see that we've aged,
yes.
That we're closer to 60 than 20 is hard to grapple with.
Uh-huh.
And so it's always great to see them. It's always jovial. I'm not depressed by this or anything. It's just this reality that it's all catching up to us. That's probably my buffalo. And all the more reason why I'm glad we did this, to capture where we are, the snapshot in our lives, reflecting on NFA before we're too old to remember much. That's all part and parcel with it.
I don't know about you guys because you are fellow fathers, but since my first was born in 2015, time does a weird thing. It's almost like time is no longer used.
Wow.
It's now not just because you're doing things for the kid and, feeding and bathing and that kind of thing, but just that time just becomes like a completely different entity. And when I think of 2015, I think of, man, that wasn't that long ago. But then at the same time, I'm like, but my son's going to be 10. And that was 10 years. And in some regards, because you're focused so much on your family, there's other things that kind of went away a little bit. And maybe the accessibility to reach out to some of those friends that we had. And I've heard you say this a few times, that I was in touch with them until my son was born.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just one of those where it just kind of jumps into that mortality piece, or that the how time has gone on. And another thing with me was I was always very up to date on new music that was coming out. And now if I'm like, oh man, this is a new album, I'm like, no, this band released it in 2017. I'm like, 2017? I feel like I just got this, even though so that's what I mean. Like time is just kind of does weird things when you're not just living for yourself.
Yeah.
But when you're living for others.
Yeah. Feel that?
Feel that, absolutely. I think you put your finger on it, because our lives have become about the kids and their milestones.
Yeah.
And I know that Arden, also born in 2015, he's grown up so much and he's so different. Because that has all my attention, I don't look at how I'm changing. I think I'm the same that I was at 35 when I thought I was the same that I was at 25.
Right.
But you stack up all those years together, you blink your eyes, all of a sudden you look in the mirror and you're like, I've aged. And time does fly, and everything but the kids. Even the kids too, time is flying in a way.
Right.
But yeah, the album or the sports statistics that I know every single World Series winner and Super Bowl champion. Now 8 Super Bowls go by. I'm like, who won 3 years ago? I don't even know. As a kid, I couldn't imagine losing track of all that, but it happens, and that hastens the speed of time.
We were talking about Todd Frazier winning the home run derby a few years, and that I was like, oh, that must have been like 5 years ago. No, something. I was doing a little quiz, and it was like something like 2013 or 2015.
Yeah.
I'm like, that was that long ago?
Right.
Jeez. Jim, actually, did you do your buffalo? Did you?
No, I guess I didn't. I was mentioning this off air, but I think that I sort of realized in high school, I had no real concept of what it meant to be a successful adult. I knew that NFA, it sort of cultivated a culture of excellence. And I felt like, you guys, Like other people that I was like friends with, like everyone was, I'm going to go to this great school and I'm going to major in like, I'm going to go into history. I'm going to go into psychology. I'm going to go into something that was like, oh, that's impressive. That's cool. But I didn't know like, what does that mean? Okay, you go to school and you do like something smart, but then what? And I didn't really know what that like looked like. I certainly couldn't conceive of it in high school, but now it was cool kind of catching up with everybody 25 years later. Was it Krista who was like this like detective of an accountant?
Yeah, she's almost looking into money laundering at times.
Yeah, and it was like, okay, that's pretty badass. But it was cool to see how that excellence sort of translated into like adulting.
I think it was cool too that there's people from all different backgrounds that we have on.
Yeah.
So some people that went to, Ivy League or practically Ivy League schools, and some people that went right into the workforce and are both doing extremely well in different areas, and that there's really no definition of success.
Right.
And I think that's important being teachers, because so much of us that it's still the dictates is what college, especially when you're working in a more affluent community like myself, and I think Waterford would probably fit into that too, where it's like with the price of higher education these days and things like that, is that, like taking long looks at that and seeing what career paths are out there, what are interests, what are other ways that you could get, if you're into getting a degree, maybe not going the traditional college route, but whether it's community college and transferring or whatever that might be. And I think that's important to hear people's stories and just kind of understanding. I mean, us as teachers with advanced degrees, we're talking financial statistics, we're going to be on the lower end of a lot of the guests, that we say. But ultimately, what makes you happy, what's something that drives you, and those are the things and the stories that we're going to be hearing on this podcast. But I think that's another real reason to listen.
Absolutely. It was very important to us to get diverse guests, not just racially, but also where they live and what they do for a living, college, no college, peer groups, social groups from high school, right? We didn't just pull from one group of that. And so the kind of stories you're talking about, where there's all sorts of different versions of success, that I think does come across.
Now, what do you guys think the overall reaction from, I know, as I said, public, but it's only going to be, a smaller group of people going to listen. So if you're from California with no connection to NFA, you're probably not going to stumble upon this.
That's a great question. Ian, I want to know what yours is. Like, how are you measuring success?
I don't think, certainly not the random person in California, obviously. I don't expect people outside of the NFA circle to listen. But I do think the class of 2001 and those directly adjacent to them I do think there'll be interest there. I know I couldn't wait to hear from everyone that we interviewed to see where life had taken them, because we all have this common history together, but we don't have a common future together. And I wanted to know where those all went. So, every episode we do reminisce about NFA, but that's not most of the episode. Most of the episode is fleshing out the person that our old classmates became. And most of them, again, I hadn't seen since 2001. And so if anyone out there shares that enthusiasm from our graduating class, served from the year before or after us, or knows many of these people, I think they'll be richly rewarded if they listen to these episodes.
I also thought one takeaway I had, I feel like the culture that we have now is that everybody is a celebrity. Everybody wants to be a celebrity, especially with social media and how many followers and this and that. And sometimes it's just taking the individual and understanding what the individual's story was and what they have to show, not as a celebrity, but as a human being, as someone that went to Norwich Free Academy and graduated 25 years ago and had their story to tell. And just like the human element of it all, I think was so fascinating to it, and that there was no cookie cutter,
right,
like trajectory that people took.
Yeah.
There was really just everybody had something that was fascinating, whether it was heartbreaking or whether it was exciting or whether it was just, everything in between, whether there was about mostly focused on family or a career or whatever that could mean, whether it was creative, whether it was something that was their own identity. And I think that was really important to get across.
And to circle back then to the question of success, now that Zack and I have kind of walked through why this was meaningful, anyone who listens and thinks, it's cool that you did this. The NFA Foundation seems to understand that it's very cool that we put in all these hours to capture this. Success to me will not be listenership. Beyond that closed circle, the topic that we chose puts a ceiling on listenership.
Yes.
There's no chance zero chance a random person will get into this.
Right.
And that's not why we did it. If the three of us had a podcast about maybe sports or politics or current events or movies that are coming out, that has a high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what we did. We were highly focused on these deep details of fellow graduates, a snapshot in time, and I think we did that well. And that's already a success in its own way. And if people listen from our community, then that's great. And that's awesome. But I don't want this to go national. It's absurd. It's not why we did it. It makes no sense. This is for Wildcats and those adjacent to Wildcats.
I would describe this, maybe you'd agree, that this is an archival project in a sense.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the cool factor is no one that I know has done this.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool
Mm-hmm.
theme. And if it catches on and people are like really into it and it seems like it struck up a lot of like interest in the foundation, and that's all like just icing on the cake. That's great.
Yes.
So,
Icing. Yeah. Its uniqueness limits how wide it can go, but it also makes it extra special.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So Ian, did it come out as you envision it?
After our first handful of episodes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were finding our way early on.
Right.
And again, we'll scatter those throughout. I'm not sure. The listener, I think it'll be a bit jarring for some people to stumble onto one of the early episodes.
You think they'll be able to tell?
You're all welcome to guess which ones those are and send in your guesses to we co-hosts. But I do think once we found our rhythm, it was actually precisely it. It actually beat expectations thanks to, so Jim put together some incredible music. Zach, you've heard these.
Yes.
Some incredible
Absolutely.
music, some alma mater mixes, which I think bolsters the credibility of the podcast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But in terms of just the interview process and what we got out of our guests, I do think that met expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And insofar as it was very interesting and cool.
This has been an overall very, very fun process.
Yeah,
I
think
know it's
so.
a lot of work, but I think something that's
Creatively
creatively
fulfilling though,
yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
I think so.
Well, again, this has been a really great process for the whole thing. I'm excited to hear them. And you say you don't listen to any of the stuff that we've done, the old
Backyard road
episodes.
trips?
Yeah.
We've already listened to make the final cut, correct?
Yeah.
In a sense. Oh, yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, I have to.
But you don't just put it on in the car.
No, again, it's because like I just like spent 3 hours on it.
Right. But I mean,
I
like
don't
if
want to
you're
listen to it
looking
again.
deep into like a season 1.
No, if I have any free time to myself, my time is not my own. And
Because
so
Danny,
if I get that, it's silence.
Danny requests.
Have you heard Danny on the?
Danny might be the
I've
number
heard
one.
Danny's episodes on Backyard Road Trips.
Yes.
Yeah. So he requests all different ones. He'll be like, I want to hear this one. I want to hear
Really?
Yeah.
That's
So
cool.
Yeah.
that's often why that
'Cause he
we'll
just-
listen to it. So he'll be like, oh, I want to hear this. So,
He remembers this stuff too.
yeah.
It's
It's got
funny.
a crazy steel trap memory.
Just
Just
like
like
his
the
dad.
dad.
Well, I used to be. Anything before 2003, I can remember.
Yeah.
After that, not so much. Thanks for hearing about our new podcast project that's going to be dropping soon, Red and White at Silver. Make sure you give that a listen. And we want to thank Ian for coming on and telling us his thoughts about Red
Guys,
and White.
thank you for having me. We're all pretty excited about this new project, and I hope your loyal Backyard Road Trips listeners will give it a shot.
Perfect. For Backyard Road Trips, I'm Zach.
I'm Jim.
You can find us at backyardroadtrips.com and on social media platforms.